I arrived at the cabin 48 hours early, and everything fell apart. The gravel crunched under my tires like a warning. July 2nd. I'd told everyone I wasn't arriving until the 4th, the annual Independence Day gathering, same as always. But my instincts had been screaming for weeks. Small inconsistencies. Sarah's nervous phone calls. The way she'd tensed whenever I mentioned the cabin. After 38 years of marriage, I'd learned to trust that feeling. The cabin itself hadn't changed, couldn't change. My grandfather built it in 1924. My father proposed to my mother on that front porch. I'd taught both my daughters to fish in the creek running behind it. It wasn't just property. It was the physical manifestation of everything our family had built across a century. I wasn't prepared for what I'd find inside. The back door was unlocked. It always was, 3 miles from the nearest neighbor. That's when I heard it. Not the gentle tears of someone cleaning, not even the sharp sounds of physical pain. This was deeper. This was a heartbreaking. I followed the sound upstairs to the attic. Sarah knelt on the floor surrounded by photo albums, stuffing them into boxes with shaking hands. When she saw me, she flinched like I'd struck her. "David, you're not supposed to—" "What's going on?" I cut her off, moving closer. She turned away, but not before I saw the red, swollen eyes. Before she could answer, I heard voices downstairs, familiar ones. Amanda's laugh, sharp, excited, nothing like the genuine warmth I remembered. Brandon's voice underneath hers, and a third voice, smooth and professional. I put my finger to my lips. Sarah's eyes went wide as I descended the attic stairs carefully, each step deliberate and silent for a man my size. 650,000, a stranger's voice carried upstairs. Conservative estimate, actually. With the land acreage, I could probably move it for 700, maybe 750 if we position it right during peak season. My stomach dropped. And the title transfer? That was Brandon, my son-in-law, my daughter's husband of 3 years. Once we get his signature on the preliminary agreement, we're golden. He's the sole owner. Just need to convince him it's in their best interest. Amanda laughed. He's been forgetting things lately. Mom's worried. We all are. That was a lie. I'd had our anniversary dinner reservations locked in for 3 months. I'd coordinated with the restaurant personally. "How old is he?" the realtor asked. 62, Brandon said smoothly, "but sharp as they come, so we need to move carefully." I felt Sarah's hand on my shoulder. She'd followed me down. When I turned, her tears had stopped. In their place was something I'd never seen before. Relief mixed with a desperate kind of hope, as if part of her had been waiting for this all along. "The assisted living angle," Amanda continued downstairs. "Frame it as concern. The stairs are dangerous. Better to sell now while the market's hot." I'm 62 years old, 6'2", and I run 3 miles every morning. I've spent 35 years commanding construction sites where you don't earn respect by aging gracefully. You earn it by keeping pace with your crews. My knees are fine. My mind is sharp. Brandon's laugh drifted upstairs. "Once we have the capital from the sale, the development deal goes live. My investors are ready. 7 figures in 2 years, minimum." That's when I understood. This wasn't about my well-being. This was about using my cabin, my family's legacy, as seed money for his next scheme. I pulled out my phone and texted Emma, my younger daughter. She was 28, working as a junior architect at my firm in Knoxville, 2 hours away. Sharp, loyal, exactly who I needed. Emergency, cabin, now, tell no one. Her response came in 12 seconds. On my way, ETA, 2 hours. The waiting was torture, but I used it well. While Sarah and I sat in the attic listening to them measure rooms and discuss my mental decline with fabricated concern, I made a plan. When they finally left, the realtor's Lexus followed by Brandon and Amanda's BMW, I moved immediately. I pulled up every database I could access. Bank accounts, clean. Property records, title still in my name, no liens. That was something. They hadn't forged anything yet. Then I started on Brandon Walsh, 34 years old, handsome in that generic gym rat way, always wearing designer clothes he couldn't possibly afford on what I'd assumed was a modest income. Tennessee Business Registry, Walsh Development Group, registered 3 years ago. Business address? A UPS store in a strip mall. Red flag number 1. LinkedIn showed 20 completed projects. I spent 2 hours tracking each one. Most didn't exist. The few that did were basic house flips in middle-class neighborhoods. Nothing wrong with that on its own, except Brandon was presenting himself as a luxury developer closing 7-figure deals. Then I found it, a Gatlinburg property listed as his flagship development. I pulled the county records. Foreclosed 18 months ago. Investors sued. Settlement sealed. But sealed records leave trails if you know where to look. I called Mike Patterson, a real estate attorney I'd worked with for years. 9 p.m. was late, but Mike picked up on the second ring. "David, everything okay?" "I need a favor. Confidential." "Name it." I gave him the case number. "Get me everything on this settlement." "That's sealed," Mike said. "Then get creative." "David, what's this about?" "Family protection," I said. "Give me 24 hours." Emma arrived at 8 a.m., still in yesterday's clothes, red hair flying, having driven through the night. I told her everything. Her face cycled through worried, shocked, then absolutely furious. "That son of a bitch," she said when I finished.
"Your sister doesn't know the full picture," I said carefully. "I need you to verify his claims. Every project, every permit, every detail. Find the inconsistencies." Emma's eyes lit up. This was her specialty: detail work, paper trails, finding the structural cracks in foundations. Within an hour, she was deep in permit databases and property records. By noon, she had proof. "Dad, look." She had her screen split between 3 county permit systems. Brandon claimed he'd done a luxury renovation on a Pigeon Forge property 2 years ago. Historic conversion to a boutique inn, complete with photos on his website. "The property's been owned by a family trust for 40 years, Emma said. 0 renovation permits, ever, not even a bathroom remodel. She clicked to another screen. This Sevilleville property he claims he built from the ground up, built in 1987, no new construction permits since then. "How deep does it go?" I asked. "At least 3 other projects with the same pattern. Minimal cosmetic work, fabricated photos, used to attract investors. Then," she paused. "Then the deals collapse and he settles quietly." He's targeting older property owners, I realized aloud, approaching them through family. My phone buzzed. "Mike." "I got them. You sitting down?" "Yeah." $230,000 settlement. The investors claimed he misrepresented his experience, used their money for personal expenses, never completed the work. They had him dead to rights on fraud charges. He settled to avoid criminal prosecution. I felt my hands shake. "There's more," Mike continued. "Brandon Walsh has been investigated by the Tennessee Real Estate Commission twice. Both cases dropped because witnesses stopped cooperating. David? One involved an elderly couple in Knoxville. They took out a reverse mortgage on their house to invest in his project. They lost everything." The room seemed to tilt. "I need your help," I said, "not as a friend, as my attorney. I need an irrevocable property trust. The cabin goes into it, managed by me and Sarah, with Emma as backup trustee. Nobody can sell without unanimous consent. I can have it ready by tomorrow. And research elder financial abuse statutes. I want every protection, every penalty." There was a pause. "David, are you pressing charges?" "I'm preparing for all options." That afternoon, I hired Terrence Brooks, a retired detective turned private investigator. I met him in Gatlinburg and laid out everything. "How fast?" he asked. "I think they arrive tomorrow. They'll make their move during the gathering. Preliminary report by tonight. Full workup within a week. But David, I'll tell you now, this guy's running a long con. Question is how many people he's hurt." "Find me the proof," I said. Terrence called at 7 p.m. "Check your email." 37 pages. Brandon Walsh had been running real estate scams for 7 years. Before Tennessee, he'd operated in Florida under a different LLC. He'd been sued 4 times, settled 3. Before arriving in Tennessee, he'd married into another family. That marriage ended quietly after 6 months, right after he'd gotten access to their investment portfolio. They'd lost $150,000. There was an elderly widow in Florida, beachfront property. She'd invested $600,000 into his development fund. The lawsuit was still active. He married into the family to get access, I said to Terrence. That's his pattern. And David, Amanda might not even know what's happening. These guys are psychological operators. He's probably convinced her he's helping, that your generation doesn't understand modern finance.
I pulled up my call logs. Amanda had called me 6 weeks ago. Before that, 3 weeks. Before that, almost a month. We used to talk twice weekly. In the last 6 months, as Brandon's interest in the cabin intensified, my daughter had simply disappeared from my life. Find out if he's using isolation tactics, I told Terrence. Financial control, anything. July 4th arrived clear and beautiful. Amanda and Brandon showed up at 10 a.m., all smiles and hugs. Amanda brought homemade potato salad. Brandon carried expensive beer. "You look great, Dad," Amanda said, hugging me tight. "How are you feeling?" "Never better," I said. "Clean bill of health. Doctor confirmed it just last week." I watched Brandon's jaw tighten. Just a fraction. Enough. Emma arrived around noon, and when she looked at Brandon, she said his name like it tasted bad. He noticed. By 3 p.m., Brandon made his move. "David, mind if we talk? Man to man?" "Sure." What he didn't know was that Emma had set up her laptop on the porch earlier, angled so its camera captured exactly where we'd sit. What he also didn't know was that Mike Patterson was parked a quarter mile down the road, waiting for my text. We sat on the porch steps. Brandon pulled out a folder. "You've worked hard your entire life. You deserve to enjoy retirement without maintaining this place. The stairs are steep. Winter maintenance is expensive. One fall 3 miles from help." "I have a cell phone," I said mildly. He smiled like I'd made a joke. "I found a great assisted living community in Knoxville, near Amanda and me. Healthcare, activities. Sarah wouldn't have to cook or clean." "And the cabin?" I interrupted. "That's the thing. Market's hot for mountain properties right now. I could handle the sale for you. I've got contacts. We could probably clear 700, maybe more. Family takes care of family." He slid a folder across. I opened it. Property Sale Preliminary Agreement. Power of Attorney form giving Brandon Walsh authority over my financial affairs. Cedar Heights Senior Living brochure. "When did you get your real estate license?" I asked. His eyes went blank. "You said you could handle the sale. Real estate sales require a license in Tennessee. You have one?" "Well, no, but I work with realtors." "Like the one you brought here 3 days ago, when you thought I wasn't here?" The color drained from his face. "See, funny thing, I came early, wanted to surprise Sarah. Instead, I heard you measuring rooms with a realtor, talking about appraisals and title transfers. You know what I didn't hear? Anything about my well-being. I heard you planning to sell my property to fund your next development scheme." He recovered quickly, I'll give him that. "David, you misunderstood." "I understand perfectly. I also understand you've been sued 4 times for real estate fraud, that you're currently being sued by an elderly woman in Florida who lost her life savings, and that you've been investigated by the Tennessee Real Estate Commission twice, and that your real name is Brian Walsh. You changed it because Brian burned too many bridges in Florida." His face went from pale to purple. "You've been investigating me." "I'm an architect. I verify everything before I build on it. Good advice for structures, better advice for family." He stood up. "You're insane." "Sit down." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell, but I'd spent 35 years commanding construction sites where authority isn't about volume, it's about certainty. Something in my tone made him freeze.
"Here's what's happening," I said. You're going to go inside and tell my daughter the truth. All of it. Every lie, every scheme, every reason you married into this family. Then you're going to leave. Or what? Or I call the police. I've documented everything. Every fraudulent claim on your website, every forged credential, every project that doesn't exist. More importantly, I have evidence of elder financial abuse. You tried to manipulate me into signing over my property by claiming I was mentally incompetent. That's a Class D felony in Tennessee, 5 years in prison. You can't prove. I'm on camera right now. Everything you just said about me needing assisted living, about my age being a liability, it's all recorded. I pointed to Emma's laptop. Add that to testimony from your Florida victims, and you're finished. His hands started shaking. Amanda loves me, he said. She'll never believe you. Let's ask her. I stood and walked to the door. Amanda, Emma, Sarah, come here for a minute. They came out. Amanda looked confused. Emma looked satisfied. Sarah looked scared but resolute. Brandon has something he wants to tell you, I said to Amanda. I handed her Terrence's entire report. She opened it. I watched her face transform. Confusion became shock. Shock became horror. Horror became something I hadn't seen in years. Rage. Is this true? She asked Brandon, her voice hollow. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Amanda, did you marry me to get access to my family's property? Silence. Did you lie about your business? Sometimes you have to exaggerate to attract investors. Did you try to convince my parents they were senile so you could steal their home? He said nothing. Amanda looked at Emma. Did you know? Since yesterday, Emma said. Dad asked me to help investigate. Amanda turned to me. How long have you known? 3 days. And you didn't tell me? Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was the paranoid old man Brandon's been telling you I am? She looked at the papers, at Brandon, at me. I need to sit down. She sat on the porch steps. Sarah sat beside her, wrapping an arm around our daughter. I thought he loved me, Amanda whispered. He might, but he loved your connection to this property more. He's done this before, Amanda, to other families. We're not the first. What do you want me to do? Tell me the truth. Has he been isolating you, controlling you? She nodded slowly. He said you didn't approve of him, that you thought I could do better, that I should limit contact so you couldn't poison me against him. Tears fell, and I believed him. You're not stupid, Sarah said fiercely. You're a victim. This is what predators do. Brandon tried once more. Amanda, we can fix this. Get out, Amanda said quietly. Get out of my family's home. I pulled out my phone. Your choice. Walk out now, or I call the police and you leave in handcuffs. He left. We watched his BMW disappear down the mountain road. Then Amanda broke completely, and we held her while she cried. The week that followed was systematic destruction of everything Brandon had built. Amanda filed for divorce. Mike discovered $30,000 in credit card debt in her name, fraud, discharged immediately. We filed formal complaints with the Tennessee Real Estate Commission and the District Attorney's Office. With Terrence's evidence, the Florida victim's testimony, and my porch recording, the DA had enough. Brandon Walsh was arrested on July 12th at his Nashville apartment. Elder financial abuse, attempted fraud, operating without a license. Combined with his Florida warrant, he faced serious prison time. The trial was 8 months later. Amanda testified. The elderly woman from Florida testified. 2 other victims Terrence had found. I testified about what he'd tried to do to my family. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. 7 years. Restitution ordered. When the bailiff let him out, Brandon looked at me one final time. Not angry, empty, like he'd never actually believed consequences were real. But they are, if you're willing to fight for them. 2 years later, Amanda moved back to Knoxville into an apartment near Emma. Therapy helped her work through the manipulation and emotional abuse. It was slow, painful work, but she was healing. The cabin went into an irrevocable family trust. Sarah, Emma, and I are the trustees.
The document specifies that the property can only be sold with unanimous consent, no exceptions. This past summer was Amanda's first time back since that July 4th. She was nervous, but Emma drove up with her, and they walked the property together, remembering better times. That evening, we all sat on the porch, me, Sarah, Emma, and Amanda, watching the sunset over the valley. The same sunset my grandfather had watched when he built this place. The same sunset my father had shown my mother when he proposed. "Dad," Amanda said quietly, "I'm sorry for—" "You have nothing to apologize for. He was a professional. You were in love. You wanted to believe the best in someone. That's not a character flaw. That's being human." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "For what it's worth, I'm 64 now. My knees work fine. My memory is better than ever, and I'm damned if I'm going to let anyone tell me I'm too old to protect what's mine." I looked at all three of them. This place is ours, all of ours, and no one's taking it from us. Not now, not ever. Emma raised her beer. And to Dad, who's still sharp as hell and scary when he needs to be. We raised our drinks. As the sun dipped below the mountains, turning the sky those impossible shades of orange and pink that only happen up here, I thought about what I'd learned. That at 64, I'm not old. I'm experienced. There's a difference. Old means declining. Experienced means you fought battles, survived challenges, learned lessons the hard way. Experienced knows how to fight back. Most importantly, I'd learned that protecting what's yours isn't about age, it's about will. It's about refusing to be a victim. It's about standing up and saying, "Not me, not my family, not today." Brandon Walsh is sitting in a prison cell, hopefully thinking about the consequences of underestimating a 64-year-old architect with a sharp mind and access to property records. Sometimes justice takes time. Sometimes it takes effort. But if you're willing to fight, it's always worth it. We headed inside. Tomorrow, we'd fish in the creek. We'd grill dinner. We'd laugh and tell stories, and remember that this place, these people, these moments, that's what matters. Not money, not property values, not investment schemes. Just family, just home, just us. And that's worth protecting no matter how old you are.